Hello and welcome to day 21 of our Lent devotions, a journey through the Gospels towards Easter. And today we are looking at another event from the last week of Jesus' life. It's from John's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 1 to 17. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but someday you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said that not everyone was clean. When he'd finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Amen. May God bless to us this reading from his holy word. One of the things about our modern society, in fact, our society in general, going back in history, is hierarchies. The idea that some people are just higher up and more important than others. It was a real bugbear of mine when I used to work in customer services, in financial services, especially when I used to work in retail banking in a branch of a bank in Edinburgh. And we would get people in who were quite down on their luck, quite poor, unemployed, or working jobs that didn't pay very much. But we also got people in a city like Edinburgh who were extremely well off, very rich, and with high-powered jobs. And those people used to think that they should get preferential treatment, they should be seen before the plebs in the queue. It happened an awful lot, that people thought because they had money and because they had influence in their sphere of work, that made them more important, that made them a bigger priority. And sadly, in the world of financial services, a lot of companies do treat them in that way and offer specific services that are better for people like that. Most incredibly, lower cost loans and lower cost mortgages to people who can afford the higher costs. I never understood that. But the thing is that in the eyes of Jesus, those distinctions between rich and poor, between those with power and those without, are wiped away. They're gone. Instead, we should all serve one another. That is why he washed his disciples' feet, because there is no denying that Jesus was greater than his disciples. Jesus is God come to earth as man. He was sent by the Father. He is greater than the disciples, and yet he washed his disciples' feet to be an example. I do this for you. I am serving you. So I ask you all to serve one another, because not one of you is greater than anyone else. That's something for us all to remember, that in the eyes of God, each one of us, from the most down on their luck, most downtrodden person on the face of the planet to the person with the greatest amount of power are all equal. We are all his creation, and he loves us all the same, regardless of our money, our power, our influence, our social status, anything like that. And we are all called to serve one another. And that sometimes means flipping things on their head and rich serving poor and the powerful serving the powerless. We don't see enough of that in our society, but it's something that we need to work towards because it is part of God's kingdom. It is part of what kingdom living looks like. It is a part of what Jesus came to bring in here on earth, as well as salvation and bringing us to God, was God's kingdom on earth, and that leveling off, that idea that we were all servants of each other. So that's something for us to reflect on in the coming day, is that no matter how powerful or powerless we are, in the eyes of God, we're all the same. He loves us. He wants us to come to him, and he wants us to be his and each other's servants. And I will see you tomorrow.